Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. I welcome the students of 4th year MBBS AMDC at Akhtar Said Trust Hospital. Today is the lecture number 5 and the topic is bleeding disorders. The learning objectives of today's lectures are that after the lecture you will be able to enumerate the clinical manifestations of the bleeding disorders. You will be able to describe common types of bleeding disorders, and you will enlist the investigations of the bleeding disorders, and you will be able to learn the complications and differential diagnosis of these bleeding disorders. And finally, you will be capable of managing the different types of the bleeding disorders. Von Willebrand, a very common disease both for the point of learning as well as for the point of examination, both in the 4th year and final year. It is a common inherited genetically disorder, clinically heterogeneous, and it is an hemorrhagic disorder caused by deficiency or dysfunction of the protein known as VWF or von Willebrand factor protein. And in this disease there is an interaction between the platelets and the vessel wall which impair the hemostasis. The von Willebrand factor is a multimeric protein. It circulates in the plasma as well as it is released from the storage granules in the platelets and the endothelial cells. The roles or functions of the von Willebrand factor or VWF are that one, mediate the adhesion of the platelet to the injured vessel wall. Secondly, it binds and stabilizes the factor 8. The categories of the von Willebrand disease are: type 1 is the one in which there is partial quantitative deficiency of the VWF, and the type 2 is the qualitative von Willebrand deficiency, and type 3 is the one in which there is total deficiency or absence of the von Willebrand factor. Further, type 2 is divided into 4 variants: 2A, 2B, 2N and 2M, based on the dysfunctional characteristics of these factors or proteins. The categories have distinct molecular mechanisms and the corresponding clinical features depending upon the molecular mechanisms. And similarly, the treatment or therapeutic recommendations are different for each type, like 2A, 2B, 2N and 2M. The clinical features of the von Willebrand factor may be: the patient present to you with the epistaxis or nose bleeding or hematomas. The patient may have prolonged bleeding from trivial wounds, and the patient can present to you with the oral cavity or buccal bleeding, and the female patients can have or present to you with the menorrhagia. There may be easy bruising and which may be non-specific, and the bleeding is prolonged after minor trauma to skin or mucous membranes. So remember the word that the trivial or minor injury can lead to the prolonged bleeding in these cases. There you should suspect that why the minor trauma or trivial injury bleeding is not stopping. So sometimes the patient similarly can present with severe hemorrhage following the major surgery, and uncommonly the patient can present to you with the delayed bleeding or delayed bleeding many weeks after the surgery has been performed. Sometimes the patient can have very heavy bleeding following the tooth extraction or oral surgery or tonsillectomy or adenoidectomy, and the exacerbation of the bleeding may be followed by the aspirin intake. The amelioration of the bleeding may be with the oral or contraceptive. Sometimes in the children the bleeding can occur from the umbilical stump, and sometimes the patient can have cephalohematomas, cheek hematomas, conjunctival bleeding, post-circumcisional bleeding, and post-venipuncture bleeding. The patients can have also jaundice or spinal angiomata, splenomegaly, arthropathy, joint and skin laxity, and telangiectasias. The spinal angiomatas are capillary vasculature abnormalities, and telangiectasias are venular or venules abnormality or collection of the same. Then you have to investigate. First of all, you will go for the ristocetin cofactor activity, which checks the von Willebrand factor activity. The normal range of the ristocetin cofactor activity is, or von Willebrand factor is, 50 to 200 international units per deciliter. Then the next investigation is von Willebrand factor activity assay, in which the glycoprotein 1b mutants which binds von Willebrand factor are detected. Then next investigation is von Willebrand factor antigen assay, and it checks the discrepancy between the von Willebrand factor antigen value and the ristocetin cofactor activity, which means qualitative defect. Then we check the bleeding time, prothrombin time, and APTT. BT and APTT are abnormal in von Willebrand disease, but BT is always normal in von Willebrand disease. Then, depending upon the typing of the von Willebrand type, von Willebrand D1 and D2. In von Willebrand D2, the platelet-dependent functions of the von Willebrand factor reserve, but factor 8 level is low. I once again repeat that in von Willebrand D2, the platelet-dependent functions of the von Willebrand factors are reserved, but the factor 8 is low, which is a partner of the ristocetin factor 8. Distribution of the von Willebrand disease. Type 1 is 25%, type 2 is 65%. The commonest is type 2 von Willebrand disease, and type 3 is 8%. Unknown type is 1%. Continuing the investigation, in von Willebrand 2, the specific absence of the large multimers will be there. In von Willebrand D3, disease 3, von Willebrand factor protein virtually undetectable. And then the testing therapeutic options are that you check the DDAVP test, which the test dose is given for VWT2B exclusion and the thrombotic complications. The differential diagnosis of the von Willebrand disease is factor 10 deficiency, factor 11 deficiency, hemophilia A and hemophilia B, and similarly Bernard-Soulier syndrome, and antiplatelet drugs, and for fibrinolytic defects and platelet type von Willebrand disease. And finally, the acquired von Willebrand disease. These are the differences which you must keep in mind in the differential diagnosis of the von Willebrand disease. I once again repeat because it is very important, and these are close contenders of each other. Therefore, you have to remember carefully because they are the factors only. So factor 10, factor 11, hemophilia A, which is factor 8, and B is factor 9. So 8, 9, 10 and 11, these are the close friends lying close to each other in order. And then the Bernard-Solier, which is a platelet defect, and then the antiplatelet drugs, fibrinolytic defects, and platelet type von Willebrand disease and acquired von Willebrand disease. And the treatment, regarding the treatment, the most common drug which we use is DDV AVP, which is an analog of ADH, and it enhanced antidiuretic activity but no pressure activity. It has got enhanced antidiuretic activity but no pressure activity. Then recombinant von Willebrand factor, von Wendy, is given. Then the von Willebrand factor plus factor 8 concentrates are offered to the patients in the treatment. Then the anti-hemophilic factor and von Willebrand factor, which are available with alpha-nate, humate P and Willate. Then the estrogen with the name of ethinyl estradiol, antifibrinolytic drugs, aminocaproic acid, tranexamic acid, oral or IV can be, it is of some help in the, rather it is a supportive treatment in the treatment of bleeding disorders. Then the topical agents are of some help in von Willebrand disease. The fibrin sealants usually used in the dental surgery and skin wound healing, and especially in situation where the patient is not responding to the oral medications or concentrates, then you can use the fibrin sealants. I hope I am clear that if the factor 8 or von Willebrand factor concentrate combinations are unhelpful, then you can use the fibrin sealant for the cases where the disease is presenting from the with the bleeding from the skin wounds. Then the platelet transfusions are offered in cases which are non-responding to the earlier described therapeutic options. I mean the refractory cases, to straightway go for the platelet transfusions. Then in similar cases, cryoprecipitate and FFP functional, which contain the functional factor 5, but there is a risk of viral infection with these cryoprecipitates and FFPs. Then prophylaxis in major surgery, what you do, that is you have to give the ristocetin, von Willebrand factor plus factor 8 combination is given as a prophylaxis for major surgery, but there is a risk of thromboembolism as complications. Von Willebrand factor in pregnancy, von Willebrand factor level increases in patients with non-type 3 von Willebrand disease. So with functionally normal von Willebrand factor, labor and delivery will be proceeding normally. There will be no risk to the fetus and mother. Then the type 2 von Willebrand factor, the hemorrhagic problems may be there. Type 2 von Willebrand factor hemorrhage bleeding disorder, von Willebrand disease, there will be hemorrhagic problems. Then von Willebrand 2B have thrombocytopenia, so monitor bleeding in delivery and postpartum. So in the pregnancy, the problems and the management, they depend upon the type, right? In type 3, the labor and delivery continues or proceeds normally, whereas in type 2 the patient may have thrombocytopenia, so you will have to monitor the patient for bleeding in delivery and especially post delivery, the postpartum bleeding. Deterrents are, how do you avoid? I mean, you should offer the aspirin and you should decrease the physical activity of the patient. This is how the patient presents. The signs are that the patient may present to you with the conjunctival hemorrhages which may be spontaneous. I mean, there is no injury to the conjunctiva or eye, but the spontaneously the patient can present to you with the conjunctival hemorrhages. Cephalohematoma, which is actually subperiosteal hemorrhage. Again, these may be spontaneous or without any trauma. If the patient presents to you, look on the right side where the arrows are given, red arrows are showing the subperiosteal hemorrhage or hematoma. So in the children, you can find it. If you find this sign, then you should suspect that the patient may be a candidate of the von Willebrand disease. These are the spider angiomata which are described earlier. I mean the vascular abnormalities. These are the telangiectasias, especially found on the nose and face, especially the cheeks. So these are again the vascular abnormalities, especially the venular. Some patients of the von Willebrand disease can present with the arthropathy with or without bleeding. Now the dental bleeding, we see, and there is epistaxis, and again the patient is having menorrhagia. These are again the spontaneous bleeding from mucous membranes. In one picture, the three different sides of the bleeding are being shown: the mucous membrane, endometrial of the uterus, and the mucosa of the nose, and then mucosa of the gums. This is spontaneous bleeding. Sometimes they may present in isolation, or sometimes the patient may be presenting simultaneously from all these three routes mentioned. The slide shown as are. This is again a repetition that there is a profuse bleeding from the gums where the teeth are fitted into the gums. See the bleeding after trivial injury from the arm. So any side of the body where a trivial injury can occur, the bleeding will be profuse, and you have to be watchful to finalize the diagnosis, to make a diagnosis and treat accordingly. Similarly, the spontaneous bleeding from the lower lip, see, but in this case this is a minor presentation of the von Willebrand disease. Again, the post-injury profuse bleeding from the finger did not stop without the medications. See how the different sides of the body, both on the flexor and dorsal surfaces, and from the conjunctiva, the scalp, and gums, and the endometrium, the spontaneous bleeding can take place. These are the very common clinical manifestations of the von Willebrand disease. Then the hemophilia A. Hemophilia A is an X-linked recessive disorder caused by a deficiency of the functional plasma factor 8. It is inherited or it may be spontaneous because of the mutations. In this disease there are inhibitory alloantibodies to factor 8, which complicates the treatment of the genetic cases. Autoantibodies to factor 8, they are acquired and the disease is acquired hemophilia A. Signs and symptoms: The level of factor 8 you have to determine or check, and the patient may have bruising, inadequate clotting, spontaneous hemorrhages depending upon the level of activity of the factor 8. The patient may have general weakness, patient may have orthostasis, patient may have tachycardia, the patient may have tachypnea. In the musculoskeletal, there may be tingling, crackling, warmth, pain and stiffness, and to the refusal to use joints by the children. If the patient, if the child refuses to walk, you should check the joints, and he may be a case of the hemophilia A, because in hemophilia A the bleeding can occur into the joints, because the musculoskeletal system is commonly involved in hemophilia A and B, contrary to the von Willebrand disease in which the mucous membranes are predominantly involved, which I have already described. In the CNS manifestation, the patient may have headache, stiffness, vomiting, lethargy, irritability, and sometimes the spinal cord syndrome because of the bleeding. In the GIT, hematemesis, melena, frank red blood cell per rectum, and abdominal pain. So the GI bleeding, upper and lower. Okay, keep in mind, patient can present to you with the hematemesis, patient present to you the melena. In that case, the patient will be having passing black tarry stools. Commonly, we are misled. The students may be misled because it is very commonly found in the acid peptic disease when there is perforation of the peptic ulcer, or peptic ulcer is bleeding and producing the black tarry stools or melena. Remember that it can also occur in the hemophilia A. Continuing the sign and symptoms, the patient can present to you with the genitourinary, which means that the patient can present with hematuria, renal colic, post circumcisional bleeding, and it is also a feature of the von Willebrand disease. That is why it is being discussed, and is also a differential of the von Willebrand disease. Miscellaneous, the patient can present again in the hemophilia A with the epistaxis, the oral mucosal hemorrhage, hemoptysis, dyspnea, compartment syndromes because of the bleeding, contusions, and excessive bleeding with dental procedures. This is again the feature which mimics or also present in the von Willebrand disease. In the diagnosis or investigation, you have to go for the CBC, hemoglobin, hematocrit, which may be normal or low, or the platelet count will be normal. PT, APTT, and normal PT. APTT significantly prolonged in the hemophilia A. Remember, APTT is abnormal both in the von Willebrand disease as well as in the hemophilia A, because the one thing is common, that is factor 8. So remember this thing, because the one thing is common, that is factor A. That is why in von Willebrand disease the APTT is prolonged. So the same way APTT is prolonged in the hemophilia A also. So finally you go for the factor A assay, and then the factor 8 inhibitory assay as well. Then bleeding time will be normal in the hemophilia A. The levels of the factor 8, they range from 50 to 150%. It is a normal value of the factor 8. In the mild disease, greater than 5%, and in the moderate 1 to 5% level will be there. See how much reduction of the factor 8 will be there. Normal value is 50 at least, but it goes down as low as 5%, in the mild, moderate 1 to 5%, and in the severe less than 5%. So 50 times reduction in the factor A will be presenting to you, the patient will be presenting to you with the full blown hemophilia A. For the diagnosis continuing, you will have to go for the MRI of the brain and spinal cord, and spontaneous or because of the spontaneous or traumatic hemorrhages in these regions. Then MRI of the joints, then for the evaluation of the cartilage and synovium and joint space, because arthropathy is a feature of the hemophilia A because of the small bleeding continuing or ongoing. So you have to go for the MRI. Then ultrasonography of the joints for detection of the hemorrhagic infusions. Then testing of the inhibitors when bleeding not controlled with factor concentrate offerings or treatments. So inhibitors of the factor 8 are also responsible for the similar presentation like which are the features of the hemophilia A. Finally, the management of the hemostasis, management of the bleeding episode, then the use of the factor replacement products and adjuvant medications. Then treatment of patient with factor inhibitors. I mean those patients in which the inhibitors of the factor 8 are present. You have to treat those inhibitors also. I mean the anti-factor options you will have to use. Treatment and rehabilitation of the patient with hemophilia synovitis, because the joints are involved because of the damage to the synovium, so the patient will be incapable of walking, and commonly the large or knee joints are involved, so the patient making the patient disabled sort of. So you will have to rehabilitate the patient keeping in mind that the major joints are involved. Disposition of the treatment. Hemophilia care center are worldwide now, it is a practice that you should refer the patient to the hemophilia care center for the disposition of the treatment. Then if the patient denies and he opts to manage at home, then home administration of the treatment, infusions by the family if patient is customary to the same. So in the literate people or educated people who get some training as to how to manage their patients, they can manage the treatment, manage the patient of hemophilia at home. Factor 8 is given prophylactically or on demand. Then hospitalization, those cases or patients where there is severe or life-threatening bleeding or home infusion is impractical of the factor 8. Very simple. If the patient cannot infuse the factor 8 at home or the bleeding is severe, then you should hospitalize the patient for active management. The management of acute bleeding, in mild hemorrhages, early hemarthrosis, epistaxis or gingival bleeding, factor 8 level 30%. These are mild hemorrhages. And major hemorrhages or late hemarthrosis, or there is muscle bleeds, factor 8 50% maintenance level is required. When there is life or limb threatening bleeding, major trauma surgery, and there are recurrent hemarthrosis or major GI bleeding or the patient has got unfortunately head trauma, there are signs of distal neurovascular compromise of the limbs or the compartment syndrome, then the factor 8 level have to be kept between 80 to 100%. Then the patient will be managed. So see in this slide, the message is that depending upon the severity levels of the disease, mild to major or life-threatening, you have to maintain the levels around 30% in case of mild, then 50% in case of major, and 80% in case of life-threatening bleeding disorders. Then the calculation of the dose of the factor 8. How do you do? The dose is calculated, that is the dose in factor 8, dose of the factor 8 in international weight into desired factor 8 into 0.5 international liter per kg international liter per deciliter. Then factor 8 regimes are given as follows. Second dose given 8 to 12 hours after the initial dose, and it is half the initial calculated dose. In minor hemorrhage, the patient requires only 1 to 3 doses of the factor 8, and in the major hemorrhage, many doses of the factor 8 will have to be given, and the trough activity should be around 50% than the major activity. I have already made this point clear that in major hemorrhage, the level of the factor 8 in the circulation should be kept around 50%. Then continuous infusions of the factor 8 in severe or life-threatening situations or major hemorrhages or following the major surgery may be required. The continuous infusions. Continuing the management, what types of the concentrate, factor 8 concentrates you are offering to the patient. There are plasma-based products purified to inactivate viruses. The first generation recombinant products contain human or plasma derived proteins, and second generation recombinant products, there are no proteins in the final products, and third generation recombinant products similar to the second, which means the second generation recombinant products are no proteins, having no protein in the final products. So these are the types of the factor 8 concentrates which you offer in the management. The extended half-life of the recombinant factor 8 product is there, and DD-AVP attributes not effective in severe hemophilia. They are given intravenously. The dose is 0.3 microgram per kg of the body weight. The peak effect is achieved in 30 to 60 minutes, and it leads to hyponatremia. So remember that when you are giving or treating the hemophilia with the DDAVP, you have to keep in mind the hyponatremia. A concentrated DDAVP is given intranasally in the form of a spray for outpatient use. Nasal spray of the DDAVP. Continuing the management, the aminofibrinolytics, epsilon aminocaproic acid, transamine or tranexamic acid. Then treatment of inhibitors of factor 8. Now coming to this point, because there is one type of the hemophilia in which there are inhibitors developed against the factor 8. So you have to combat or treat the inhibitors. High dose factor 8 for low titer inhibitors. C. You kill them with full force. Then activated prothrombin complex concentrate. Activated prothrombin complex concentrate are given against the inhibitors of factor 8. Again, activated recombinant factor 8 can be given against the inhibitors. Again, its own inhibitor, activated recombinant factor, is given. Monoclonal antibodies, they restore the factor 8 functions. The one which is used, monoclonal antibody used in hemophilia is emicizumab. So this is a chimeric monoclonal antibody which comes to the rescue in cases of hemophilia A, in which there are inhibitors of factor 8 responsible for the hemophilia. Extending the treatment further, you have to offer the porcine factor 8 having low cross reactivity with the human factor 8 antibodies. So this is a drug of second drug of choice in inhibitors of factor 8. There is desensitization and large doses of the factor 8 plus steroids or IV immunoglobulins and cyclophosphomides are given for desensitization. Okay. Remember, cyclophosphamide, IV immunoglobulins or steroids are given for desensitization, followed by large doses of the factor 8. How do you do the immune tolerance induction in these cases? It is done by means of regular exposure to factor 8 for months to years. And then rituximab, which is a chimeric monoclonal antibody, it is used with success in ITI. I mean inhibitors of hemophilia, inhibitors of factor 8. Continuing the management, supportive management is that you can manage the pain of the patient. The analgesia, very simple to use. NSAID, aspirin is disallowed. Paracetamol with codeine, paracetamol with codeine is preferred drug. No NSAIDs or aspirin is given in such cases because of the cyclooxygenase pathways involvement. Then how do you do the deterrence or prevention? Do not circumcise the boys till factor 8 assay is done, and immunization is done by deep subcutaneous route. Okay. Remember that because in hemophilia there are chances of bleeding into the musculoskeletal system, so when you are offering the immunization, do it in the deep subcutaneous route instead of intramuscularly. In severe hemophilia, consider prophylactic and schedule factor 8 2 to 3 times per week. Carrier testing, prenatal diagnosis, and may prevent birth with major hemophilia. Management. Activity should be minimized. Avoid impact contact sports and activities with risk of trauma. I mean the strenuous physical activities. The author is recommending that they should not be allowed in these patients because of the risk of the bleeding into the musculoskeletal system, especially the muscles and the larger joints. And secondly, the gene therapy is offered in these cases, and ex vivo gene therapy is done. In vivo gene therapy is also done. Non-autologous gene therapy is also done. So 3 forms of the gene therapy are available: ex vivo, in vivo, and non-autologous gene therapy. Complications of the hemophilia: HIV associated ITP, which is a lethal intracranial bleeding. Then maintain platelets, in these cases around 50,000, and the steroids and immunoglobulins and anti-D antibodies are given, and anti-HIV medications are given, and splenectomy is considered in these cases. The differential diagnosis of hemophilia A is acquired hemophilia, Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, and factor 11 deficiency, and Glanzmann thrombasthenia. Remember these differentials. And hemophilia C. Hemophilia type B is also a close differential diagnosis of the hemophilia A. Once again I repeat: acquired hemophilia, Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, factor 11 deficiency, Glanzmann thrombasthenia. If I start explaining, it will take a longer time, so you will have to be content with the remembering the names of these differentials. Hemophilia type B also. Physical child abuse and platelet disorders, they are also the differential diagnosis of the hemophilia A. And von Willebrand disease, as already been described, it also comes into the differential diagnosis of the hemophilia A. This is how the clinically hemophilia A patient presents. See bruising and bleeding into the subcutaneous tissues compared to the mucosal bleeding in von Willebrand disease. Spontaneous dental bleeding, deeper bleeding is a feature of the hemophilia as compared to the mucosal bleeding in the von Willebrand disease. Bleeding from palms of the hand. Now finally I give you an assignment which is mandatory to be solved by you and to be sent within half an hour, otherwise you will be marked absent. SEQ number 1. A 4-year-old boy present to the emergency room with a nosebleed that will not stop. Upon asking the mother of the patient, she comments that they are unsure of the boy's family history as boy is adopted. Here doctor decides to run some laboratory tests which are as follows: WBC 7000, hematocrit 30%, platelets 200,000, and hemoglobin is 9.8, APDT is 60, remarkably raised, PT is 14, about normal. What is the most likely diagnosis? What additional investigation you will do, and what are the treatment options for the same? SEQ 2. A 2-year-old boy brought to the emergency room by mother for oozing blood from his mouth following a fall nearly 6 hours ago. His mother stated that she tended to bleed from prolonged periods from his immunization sites, but there was no history of bruising or hematoma. Patient was on antibiotics for a recent ear infection. There was no family history. On examination, there were no petechiae, bruises or joint swelling. On examination, initial lab test shows HB 12.3, hematocrit 35%, WBC 7.9000, PT 11.2, APDT again 37, VT is normal. What is the differential diagnosis? Enlist further investigation. What is the most likely cause of prolonged bleeding in this patient? Now next, MCQs. MCQ number 1. A 5-year-old child presents with repeated episodes of gum bleeding and epistaxis. Blood picture shows HB 10, platelet count normal, BT more than 20, APDT 42nd. What is the most likely diagnosis? A fibrinogenemia, factor 7 deficiency, hemophilia A, or von Willebrand disease. MCQ 2. Which of the following investigation is appropriate in hemophilia? PT, APDT, bleeding time, and platelet count. Now I thank you. She is a case of guess with which disease this lady is suffering from. She says, I acted like it did not bother me, but inside it is killing me. So remember this picture and guess with which disease this patient is suffering from. Okay, I say goodbye to you everybody from Akhtar Said Trust Hospital.